Yeah, I'll probably be really loud on Zoom because I'm in the Commons and it's really crowded, and you guys at home can't see that. Sorry for the lateness. I had a child that had to go to a rock climbing practice in Mukilteo, and I had to get in there and then get here, so it's farther than I thought. So welcome. It's been a long time coming. I know we are pretty excited about it. I'm really excited about it. I haven't been to DC in several years now, and we have 7th graders, 8th graders, and freshmen. So this is going to be the coolest group I've ever taken. I'm really excited about this. I think we've got 109 people total. So it's relatively huge, which is I'm excited about. I'm not nervous yet. I will be. So if you see me the morning we're leaving, I will be probably looking terrified and frazzled and won't know any of your name, even if you are my wife, who is also going, and my child too, who is not here, luckily. So if you don't remember, if you haven't seen me in a long time, I'm Mr. Smith. I know most of you know me. I know most of you, some of you have not had my class. This will be my 12th trip. I went and did the math. So this will be my 12th trip, and I think it's going to be my last trip. So that does make it cool that I have such a big group, and I'm really excited about taking some of you guys. It'll be a lot of fun. So let's kind of get to it. I want to run through this as quick as possible. I know you guys are busy. I'm sorry, meeting on middle of the week at 6 o'clock. It wasn't good for me either. And I looked at the schedule and just went, there was absolutely no good time to meet because there's soccer practice, climbing practice, baseball. It's crazy. I know that's way for everybody else. So thank you guys for coming out. So let's start right from the beginning. If you've got one of these, I'm going to run through this. If you don't have one of these, and I know nobody at home does, I'm going to send them out and make more copies. The printer jammed, and I didn't have time to fix it, so I got about 50 out of my 70 printed. But I'm going to run through it. I'll send it all out. It's all there, so if you don't have it, don't stress. I will get it all to you. So the day we leave, we are leaving dark and early from Centennial. So we will be meeting here at 4:30 in the morning. So we're meeting here at 4:30 a.m. It will be early. It's not the earliest we've met. To be honest, I wanted to leave earlier, but with such a large group, we couldn't. I wanted to make sure we got direct flights because I didn't want us to have stopovers with 2 different flights. That would stress me out, and I didn't want to do that. So the best that they could do to get us on direct flights is to get out at 8 o'clock, which is pretty good. I would have preferred to leave at 6, but 8's going to work. So we're going to meet here. When you get here, we'll just meet right out front on the steps. So you guys will see me. I'll yell. I'm relatively loud usually. And you will get chaperones. So all of our chaperones will be here. You'll find out your chaperones. Basically, if you're in a room with somebody, which I'll cover later, you're going to be with them for the chaperone group, which I'll cover right now how that works. Essentially, chaperones, they are just there to make sure we don't lose anybody. That's it. That's their job. You're not stuck with them. You're not following them around. You have a lot of independence on this trip. I expect you to use that independence well. We haven't lost anybody ever. Yeah, that scares me when I say that now that I say it. But we do expect a lot from you guys, and we give you a lot of independence, but we also practice our first day how we deal with chaperones, and we will practice constantly at the airport because the airports make me more nervous at any place we go. Basically, it'll look like there'll be around 8 to 10 of you per chaperone. You'll meet your chaperones. You probably already know some of them. You'll meet them, talk to them. They'll all have a pretty similar way of doing it. You'll probably get numbers like you do in PE on your first day until they know your names. And you'll hear me just say, hey, find your chaperone. And then you just go meet up with your chaperone. They're just going to count you off, make sure you got everybody. I'll check with every chaperone, make sure we have everybody. And then we'll move on, and we'll do that a lot. So kids traveling, don't get too annoyed on that first day when we're meeting with chaperones, a whole bunch. It's just so that you get used to it, so that you don't get lost and you know how to kind of get corralled and figure out where to go. Okay, that's going to be a lot of day one, that we don't lose people. On the same token, I will have my cell phone. All chaperones have cell phones. Students that travel should have cell phones. If you don't, I prefer if you do. Let's just put it that way. I really prefer if you do. We've traveled without cell phones before. Lots of students, when I traveled 15 years ago, not everybody had cell phones. But it does make it easier because you will get your chaperone's phone number, just in case. You will have phone numbers of WorldStride representatives, including our tour guides. You'll have phone numbers of the main office to WorldStrides and my contact, Melissa. So you'll have all of those numbers that you'll have with you at all times. You'll have to wear a lanyard. Students, you always have to wear that lanyard, which I'll give you, and I'll explain that in detail to you guys on buses. Once you put the lanyard on, you have to wear it. Anytime we go somewhere, you have to have that on. That is an absolute 100% requirement by me. That is the only piece of clothing that I care about as far as your dress code. There are no dress codes, except you must have the lanyards on at all times because of the phone numbers and safety. We've had to use those in the past, just calling students, and it's really helpful to have that stuff. So please have that on at all times and have cell phones if you can. Once we get to the airport, that will be a little bit chaotic because we are at two different, we are flying with two different companies. So we'll be splitting up myself and Mrs. Price. She will be taking one group. I will take the other. You can see how it's split up. If you have this sheet, it is split up on the sheet. If you don't see that right now, we just have two flights. One has a group of 50, one has a group of 60, and Miss Price will take one. That will be going to Delta Airlines, and I will be taking the other going to United. The nice thing is the flights are only like a few minutes different. Like they're almost the same, which is really good. And Mrs. Price will take care of it. She's traveled with us a bunch of times too. She is an expert on this whole thing, so I'm not worried about that. We'll go, we'll check in. Everybody will get their tickets right there. Students don't trade tickets once you get on there and be like, hey, I want to sit where you're sitting. You can change seats once we get on planes and get up in the air. We can take care of that stuff once we're in the air, but not while we're still in the terminal. Don't change tickets. Make sure you keep your same ones. As far as flights on the way back, we'll fly into DC, and then we're going to be flying out of Philadelphia, which is really nice. It cuts down on travel time. Our flight out of Philadelphia, all 109 of us are on the same flight, which is really nice that we're able to do that. It simplifies things. And whatever 10 poor people are on that plane that are not part of our group, honestly, that's going to be a rough one for them. And I'm hoping all of you are really tired, and you should be. We're flying out of Philly. Our flight leaves at 6:45. We will get into Seattle at 9:54. And then we will take our buses from SeaTac back to here. That could take a little bit. So I would anticipate us getting back to school around 11:30 at night for pickup. It could be a little later, but that's going to be a phone call. So essentially, students, when we land, calling your parents and saying, hey, we're in Seattle. We'll have a better ETA of the buses picking us up and getting us there. Usually the buses are waiting for us when we get into Seattle, but every now and then they're a little bit late. So just anticipate us getting back into CMS around 11:30 at night, Thursday night. And then, of course, drop off early in the morning before that. Hotels, our hotels, the one in DC I've stayed at before. I really like it. It was one that I requested. There's no swimming pool. Sorry. I know some kids were like, we're really hoping swimming pools. No pool, which doesn't matter because we wouldn't have time the way the itinerary is built anyways. But it's a really nice place. It is about 20 minutes outside of DC into Maryland, which when we were setting it up, they had just started the mandates for vaccines at all the restaurants. So we needed to be somewhere outside of DC. I don't know what that's going to look like once we're there, the way things are changing. And so we might actually have some changes to the itinerary where we eat. But we had to stay outside of DC because of the vaccine mandates. But the hotel's nice. As far as the Philly hotel, that is on the next page. That is just outside the city by a few minutes. I haven't stayed at this one. I haven't been to Philly in a few years. So hopefully it's nice. It looked pretty good. But I haven't been to this one. Packing lists. And I know I'm going quick, so I'll come back to questions in a bit, I promise. Packing list. Weather in DC, if you've ever been there in the spring, it is very hit or miss. Last time we were there, We had one day where it was really cold. It was pouring down rain. And then the next day it was 75 and I got scorched burnt, which shocking. I didn't pack a hat or sunscreen that day because it was cold in the morning. We went to Arlington and by about 11 o'clock, it was sunny and mid 70s, and their 70 is way hotter than our 70. And I was sweating and kids were miserable that planned as poorly as I did. So in terms of packing, make sure you are packing for that type of weather where you have sweatshirts, hoodies, raincoats, t-shirts, and you pack accordingly every single day. It is a good idea to bring a small backpack, a carrying backpack, just to take with you every day. Just to put things like snack, a water bottle, your rain jacket. We may not need those things, but they're a really good idea. It's just to take and put on the bus. The buses go with us everywhere. You might not be carrying it around DC with you, but it is a really good idea to have just in case. As far as food goes, snacks are a really good idea just to pack. Like if you throw them in your luggage, it's a good idea. We will have 3 good meals, and a lot of times I am more full on these trips than I usually am because I don't usually eat 3 full meals. Anyways, we will, but kids get hungry, and sometimes our meals will be, we might have dinner at 5 o'clock, and we might not be back to our hotel until 9:30 or 10. And by that time, you might get hungry and want a snack. So backpacks with snacks, really, really good idea. Hats and beanies. I got scorched because I didn't bring my hat. And being bald, you probably don't have that problem. But I would recommend it because you're going to get cold. You might want the sun out of your eyes. We will be outside a lot. We will spend a ton of time outside walking, which brings me to shoes. Wear cozy shoes.